I'd like to call the February 15th, 2022 Board of Commissioners business meeting to order. We're going to begin, as always, with the Pledge of Allegiance. And tonight, our soon-to-be appointed new Finance Director, Nate Crittenden, will lead us in the pledge. To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Deanna, will you take the roll call, please?
Denise Hall, President.
Here.
Catherine Carter, Vice President.
Here.
Martha Similaro, Commissioner. Here. Liz McNaney, Commissioner.
Here.
Ruth Damsker, Commissioner.
Here.
Sandra Zadell, Township Manager.
Here.
Megan Weaver, Assistant Township Manager.
Here.
Lauren Gallagher, Township Solicitor.
Here.
Isaac Hessler, Township Engineer.
Here.
David Duffy, Chief of Police.
Here.
And Nathan Crittenden, Finance Director. Van Rieger is absent.
Thank you, Deanna. Next up, we have the announcement of executive sessions, and I will turn it over to our solicitor, Lauren Gallagher.
Thank you, President Hull. The board did meet in executive session earlier this evening to discuss various matters of personnel. And
Great. Thank you, Lauren. Next up, we have our public comment section. And as you know, we've added some new procedures. Thank you to everyone for registering beforehand. We appreciate it. So we are going to begin the public comments this evening with Fred Hankin.
Hi, good evening. You have my address, obviously. Thank
Yes,
you.
thank you, Fred.
Thank you, Denise. So my comments really have to go in regards to the motion to approve the proposals for the Gailey, is it Gailey? Murray Communications.
Gail, I think.
So I'm
Yes.
glad actually that the commissioners seem to be listening to the fact that some residents have been saying, look, I haven't heard enough about things that are going on in the comprehensive plan. I mean, I'm glad to hear that you're doing something about that, quite frankly. With that being said, I'm just curious that this proposal to hire this company was not mentioned at the commissioners' workshop meeting last week. Normally, those are part of the.
It was. It was, Fred.
It wasn't in the. It wasn't in the minutes, so was it?
It was.
You know, I'm mistaken about that. I apologize. So according to the action item request that Sandra put together, this company is highly recommended. Was there an RFP that was put together for that company, or was it they were just selected as because they were recommended? I mean, was a request for proposal put together for a PR company, or they were just selected because of their recommendation of being what they were? I'll just keep going because I only have 5 minutes. I don't want to. It also mentions that there's $10,000 will be used regarding the Martin Tract. I'm curious as to what types of communications on the Martin Tract are being discussed and that this company will be communicating. I can understand updates to road projects and parks and rec updates, of course, but to spend $10,000 alone regarding the Martin property appears to be a little underhanded, if you will. To quote the information here, it says, related to the Martin Tract, the consultant's focus would be on messaging to ensure the needs of the township residents are properly gathered and analyzed. And I'm wondering if you could explain how messaging from the township that it's looking to take this private property will ensure that the needs and concerns of residents are gathered. Will they be asked to survey residents? How many township residents who oppose the township spending millions of dollars on this property and use of condemnation and eminent domain get to respond to these township paid communications? Finally, what is the township's plan for getting email communications out to township residents? How will the township proactively get the email addresses of residents to receive weekly newsletters? How many of the township residents do you have email addresses for? And finally, what is your plan to get more addresses to increase your communications?
Fred, thank you so much for your comments. We appreciate those. Now, we have talked about the emails before. I would suggest that either you fill out a right to know, or perhaps you set up a meeting with our township manager, Sandra, and she can talk to you about this in a little more depth.
I guess my point is, it seems like, how do you get more and more email addresses? I mean, you only have so many that I'm not looking for people's email addresses. I'm curious as to how you will gather more to become more proactively communicating. Like, what's your plan to get more email addresses so that you can communicate more effectively?
Again, I would suggest that either you set up a meeting with Sandra to talk about this more in depth, or you fill out a right to know. Did you have any other comments this evening?
I want to know why we're spending $10,000 to prop up this communication plan for the Martin tract. I mean, you're spending $10,000 of my tax money and everyone in this room, but how do those that oppose this, come up with $10,000 to, come up and have another say on this?
President,
Sandra.
may I respond?
Sure.
Okay. Fred, so the whole point in hiring the firm is to, just as I wrote in the memo, analyze information from our residents. So it's not about pro or con the Martin track. It's about getting information out to our residents so we can hear from them, have them at meetings so that we make sure that all the residents are getting the information, the same information.
Well, I mean, currently you're using this rumor mill to kind of quell what people are saying, which seems a little,
Well,
I'll use the word underhanded, quite frankly, because this is being created by township employees that are being paid by us to, put together this rumor mill stuff, which, no one else has an opportunity to counter any of that.
Fred?
that opportunity is held at public meetings where all of the residents like yourself get a chance to speak. And the municipality, the township gets to speak all the time on our social media, in our newsletter. We put out information to the public. And so the whole point of hiring a PR firm is to increase that citizen engagement. It's not to silence residents, it's to increase it.
Was an RFP put together for this?
No, it's a professional service and RFPs aren't required.
They were not required.
They're not required by law if the solicitor wants
I
to
just
wait.
find it interesting that,
Well, the reason that we picked Gailey Murray is they do a ton of work in local Montgomery County municipalities. The principal is a prior PIO, Public Information Officer, for a municipality.
What criteria are you?
So sorry, Fred, just let me finish.
Excuse me.
So the point is they have a ton of experience in local government PR, and that's what we were looking for.
So what are the requirements for filing an RFP? Is it a dollar level, or what is the?
Lauren can answer
There is
that for
no
you.
requirement for an RFP when it comes to a professional service. So it does not matter the dollar amount or what type of
If you were
professional
purchasing
service.
salt or something, you would have that, or trucks and equipment, things like that, you would have RFPs for.
If
Well, it
we're
would be a
making
public
up,
bid.
we go out to bid for public construction projects and public purchases, but there are exceptions to public bidding and procurement rules, which include professional services, sole source, that sort of thing. So we always review that with the township if there's a concern as to whether or not something needs to be bid or go out to proposals.
Okay,
Professional services are an exception to the general rule.
I was not aware of that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Fred. Next up, we have Dan Wallace.
I'm going to hold my comments until item number 8 that's on the agenda. Is that okay? That same thing.
Okay, all right. Okay, so moving right along. Next up, we have the motion to approve our consent items, A through K. Remember, you can always click onto the hyperlink to get more information about all of these items. We talked about them in length at our last work session. Do we have a motion to approve consent items A through K? We have a motion. Do we have a second? We have a motion and a second. Do we have any board comments? Do we have any public comments? Deanna, will you do the roll call?
President Hall,
Aye.
Vice President Carter,
Aye.
Commissioner McNaney,
Aye.
Commissioner Simularo,
Aye.
Commissioner Damsker.
Motion passes unanimously. Next up, we have the motion to approve the hiring of our new finance director / treasurer for Upper Gwynedd, Nathan Crittenden. Nathan Crittenden comes to the township with more than 15 years of experience in the field of finance, with the last 8 years concentrating in local government. More recently, Nathan has served as the Director of Fiscal Affairs for Cheltenham Township and Finance Director of Whitmarsh Township. Before transitioning to local government, Nathan spent 10 years working in commercial and community banking management. While holding a master's degree in business from Lincoln University, he sought to continue his education through his efforts to obtain a second master's in public administration from Westchester University. Throughout his career, Nathan has demonstrated a willingness to serve communities through volunteer efforts, provide financial counseling, be one of the founding members of the Cheltenham Township Police Athletic League, and participating in community affairs to increase the level of organizational community involvement. Nathan's interests include a passion for the arts, traveling, information technology, and spending time with his wife and 2 children. He is a proud family man who hopes to serve the township and its residents well. Do we have a motion to approve the hiring of Nathan Crittenden as the finance director / treasurer for Upper Gwynedd Township? We have a motion and we have a second. Do we have any board comments? Do we have any public comments? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Welcome aboard, Nate. Nate, did you want to say a couple things?
Thank you, commissioners. I just wanted to say thank you for this opportunity. I hope to be able to serve the residents here at Upper Gwynedd proudly and be able to increase transparency, be able to hold that title and make you proud.
Wonderful. Welcome aboard. Next up, we have the motion to approve the proposals from the Gailey Murray Communications, which we were just discussing in our public comments section. So at the recent Board of Commissioners work session, we discussed their initial proposal and we decided that it was a little bit too pricey and had a little more than we thought we needed at this time. We decided we wanted to start a little bit smaller and we wanted to have the 2 focuses, one being the Martin Track project, the big community project, as well as the weekly e-newsletter. So they gave us a new proposal, and for 90 days, the fee would be $10,000 for the Martin Track project, and the fee for the newsletter would be $2,000 a month. So annually, the cost would be $30,000. We do have, yes.
It's not guaranteed that the fee will be $10,000. It's not to exceed $10,000. So it could be less. Just want to point that
Well,
out.
it could be less.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's why you said we should.
Yeah.
Okay, got it, which I wrote in the motion. Okay, great. So we do have money budgeted for a special projects coordinator position, which we have not filled as of yet. And as of right now, our administration doesn't think that we have a need for it. They think we could possibly put that on hold a little bit longer. So the idea would be to use the money budgeted from that fund to pay for this new project, these 2 new projects. So what does everybody think about the new proposal and the new numbers that they've given us?
I would like to see if we could go for the weekly newsletters, just do that on a trial basis for 90 days, like we did with, for the first 90 days for the Martin Track. That was one that I had. To answer a few questions that Mr. Henkin brought up about this issue. I belong to the Montgomery County Association of Township Commissioners. Also, it's the Eastern Division, which is Delaware County and Montgomery County, which is all part of the state committee. So there's a Pennsylvania State Association of Township Commissioners. I was recently at their executive committee meetings, and I asked a lot of them how they handle issues like this. And one gentleman from Upper Moreland, some other areas said, well, we put a survey out. We hire a company, we put a survey out. And I said, well, isn't that risky? Because it could not be, it could be one and not the other. But I liked it when it was explained to me that it would be the community helping us to make this decision. That it's not the five of us sitting up here saying, condemn that land, we want it. It would be a survey which would go out, which would be part of these weekly newsletters with information to get the facts out, to get the information out. And then the surveys. And I've thought of ways to make sure that we get the surveys out to as many community members as we can. I've made contact with people in different developments who are willing to help to make sure that we get the word out that this survey is and to get the true information out there. So the survey, like you had mentioned, is something that I'd like to see as well, because it's not us making that decision. It might be a compromise, we don't know, but it's not us. It's not us condemning that property. It's not us kicking anybody out of their homes. It's not what we're doing. I think for 3 months to have this company come in and get the background, get the facts that the township has and what we know, and share that with the community like the rumor mill, and then let the residents decide thereafter. I think using it for 3 months for the newsletters, because like a gentleman in our audience so honestly said at our workshop meeting, he wouldn't read it. And I don't know for a full year if I'm going to read a weekly thing either. So we can go, Sandra, for 3 months.
Whatever the board, whatever your discretion, like whatever you choose is how we.
And then if we want 3 more, or however we can go from there.
So
So,
you mean for the newsletter specifically, you're saying let's do
right,
90
I don't
days
want to
for
go
that.
for a whole year at
Okay.
$2,000 a month.
So 90 days for each?
I'm proposing 90 days for each,
Okay,
and then reevaluate it at that point.
okay,
That's what I'm suggesting. I think
okay.
32,000 for this is a lot of money. And I'm not comfortable spending that, but it's a good start with the 10 and the,
So it would be 16,000.
Yeah,
is
I'm
what
all
we'd
right
be
with that.
approving for a 3-month period.
Yep.
Not to exceed $16,000 for the 3-month period. Correct? Okay. What do the other ladies think? Anyone else have a?
That's for the survey, correct? That's for
Well,
them to do the survey,
that would be one of the things.
as well as the newsletter,
Yes, that would be for the Martin Track project.
right?
And that would also be for the newsletter. But Commissioner McNaney is saying, let's just try this newsletter for 3 months instead of committing to it for a whole year. Let's see how that goes for 9, just like we're only committing to 90 days for the Martin Track project.
I just don't know if that's adequate if we're out. Because we have our that's in addition to our regular newsletter that we send out, how often does that come out? Quarterly?
Our newsletter is a print newsletter. This would be a weekly e-newsletter that people could opt into with their emails.
We do have electronic version of that though as well.
We do, yeah. We already have a list, and Fred asked, I think, how many people. We have about, I think, Megan, 1,800 people on our opt-in for the newsletter, which is available on the bottom of our website. This would be similar. It would be something we post out to those same 1,800 people, and we would put it across all of our social media. And the point is to try to gather more subscribers that are looking at what we're putting out there each week. And it
More
would not just
engagement.
be focused on one topic. Every department will be covered.
Right, more engagement with the.
Yes.
Just sharing more information about the Parks and Recs and all the various.
Oh, right. Oh, yeah, the newsletter would have everything. Commissioner McNaney is just saying she thinks that's a little bit ambitious to commit to a whole year. We don't know how the newsletter is going to be received, and we haven't seen the newsletter. Why don't we just commit to 90 days with that, like we're committing to 90 days for the other?
All right, I have no objection to that.
Okay, great. Commissioner Similaro, what do you think?
I'm not sure if 3 months is going to be enough time to gauge community acceptance, actually.
Of the newsletter?
Ladies, I'm sorry to interrupt, but Commissioner Similaro, could you put your microphone closer? Sorry, I just want to make sure everyone can hear you.
Sorry, is that better?
Yes.
Better, okay. I'm not sure if 3 months is going to be adequate to gain enough information about how successful or not successful it is.
Hmm.
I mean, I might go for maybe 6 months, so this way we can get some feedback.
Well, we could extend it. We could originally just go for 3, and then if we feel it's not enough, then we can go 6, we could go 9, we could go whole year. But I think to start, it would be good. And Megan, do you have that slide? And I asked Sandra for it earlier, of the increase in the social media that we've had. Mr. Henkin, you weren't here at our workshop, and Sandra did a report. No,
No,
No.
no,
it was on there.
it's been on there.
Yeah,
Fred, the minutes aren't posted yet.
yeah.
You can just click to it from the agenda that we had posted. That was on the agenda from the first moment that we posted it. Mhm. Just so you know, the sunshine law requires that we post, yeah.
Did you pull up that is
Oh.
Sandra's report again with the numbers? Fred, we had Sandra explained at the, in her manager's report, the increase in our social media. So here's, Sandra, do you want to take over for?
So we looked at our Facebook followers, Nextdoor, Twitter, our account, the Instagram account, and just did a look back from basically when Megan started managing these items for us. So from July 2019, we had 710 Facebook followers, and that increased to 1,821 in January 22. So you can see we've had a huge increase in our Facebook followers. And similarly, as you go down the list, you can see we've really, really increased citizen engagement across all of our different, so we almost doubled Twitter. Instagram is a new addition that we added. And in general, our Facebook page reach is about 37,000 people with 53 or engagements. I don't think it's really people. 53.6 of the top cities are the ones that we pull addresses from as an Upper Gwynedd Township. The newsletter would be generated via email. We would cross share it across our social media platforms. But we did look at our subscribers, like for our township newsletter at the bottom, you can sign up to get the agendas, things like that. We have about 1,800. And the goal would be to obviously increase that and track it similarly to what we've done previously.
And Fred, I just texted you that. You're welcome.
Okay, so back to the conversation about the communications company. Okay, so Commissioner Similaro was saying you think we need at least 6 months with it? Okay.
I understand what Commissioner Davis is saying, that 3 months, but I think we need to have an assurance that we're going to look at it at the end of 3 months and put another 3 months by the beginning.
Okay, what do you think, Commissioner Carter?
I think the 6 months, I'm concerned about just 3 months in trying to get additional email accounts. So we have the first job was trying to increase the number of email accounts that we have from the 1,600, 1,800 to get to as many residents as possible. So in 3 months, I'm not exactly confident that we can get double that or try at least. So I understand the whole year. I'm not for the whole year, but maybe like Commissioner Similaro, 6 months.
I think 6 months would be a compromise. What do you think, Commissioner McNaney?
I'm still sticking with the 3 because that's all the campaign for the $10,000 is 90 days. So why, if that campaign is only going to really run for 90 days, how will we know that's if we're not going to know revisit it? If we could extend this long as 90 days, we can extend it all. I think we should revisit it in 3 months.
You just really want to see what the product is. before we commit to
I
too
have no
long.
idea what to expect. I don't know what this company's going to come up with for us. I don't know what it's going to look like. And I would just feel more comfortable just reevaluating it and knowing that we have that option for 3 more months. Yeah, you know what, we don't have enough emails, or we don't have, let's do it 3 more months. All right. You know, instead of, but then after 3 months, we could say, this isn't working, or would we be stuck with a 6-month contract?
So the contract does not actually have a time frame. It's a proposal and it's professional services. So they serve at your leisure. Even the 10,000, it's an estimate in 90 days. It doesn't mean it's only for 90 days. That's just a not to exceed number. Like when you make this motion, if you make it the way I suggested you craft it, you're saying we're not going to exceed 10,000 in spending. That could take 6 months. It could take 3 months. I have no idea. It depends on how much we engage, what type of survey we do. All of those factors go into it. So I just wanted to make that clear that in this professional services agreement, you guys get to scope it however you want. So however you want to do it is fine.
Okay. So I think the point is that the 3 months would just give us more freedom as far as less
Yeah, but you
rigidity.
know what? The more I think about it, though, I think we're really limiting them. I mean, 3 months is really a short time. And first of all, they're going to present to us. They're just not going to be sending out a survey. I mean, we're going to be able to have oversight during the time. And now that the more I think about it, that if we really want to get and to know what our community really is, that I'm not sure that having it just for the 3 months is really an adequate amount of time for them to really give us a sense of what our community wants. I think it's a little too, it's not a long enough period of time.
Well, Ruth, the only thing that we're questioning is the e-newsletter.
The what?
The e-newsletter. Remember, there's 2 components.
Right.
So we're going to start with the 90 days regardless for the Martin Track project.
Right.
We're debating about for the e-newsletter if we should do it just for 3 months or if we should do it for 6 months. So that's a newsletter they're going to
Was
put
that
out.
which is
based
going
on
to be
our
the survey? Is it going to be is the survey going to be the 3 months or the
Yes.
6 months?
Yes, the 3 months.
The survey is part of the Martin Track scope. So it's
Yes.
not
It's
part of
totally
the
separate.
newsletter.
Totally separate from the
totally
newsletter. It's the
separate.
newsletter that we're debating right now.
And
length
that's
of the
in addition
newsletter.
to our quarterly.
Yes.
In addition to our
Yes.
quarterly.
Yes.
$10,000 is for surveys that were and related components. Is that what
We can call it a campaign, I think would
Not-
be a good word. It's going to be a campaign is the way that we can look at it. You know, a campaign to, get the word out there, to see what the residents want. Basically, it's like a political campaign because you're going to have people vote for what they want. So
So would it be an up and down vote then? Like if it was 2004 and 1900 against, you vote yay for the
We're still working on that. I mean,
Yeah,
we're still
that's
figuring
all
that out.
part of the
Fred. We're
whole-
still figuring
yeah.
that out. Yeah,
no,
we're still
it's
figuring
fine.
that out.
If I might be able to shed some light on this. What you're considering tonight is a professional service. If after a week, a month, 6 months, a year, you decide you do not like the product, you do not like the results, you can stop the professional service at any time. You want to direct township staff to bring you statistics and reports and copies of the product at 1 month, 3 months, a year, you can do that at any time. So you're committing to a budget for however much amount of time, but the actual service itself, you're not required to spend that money if you, for any reason, do not wish to continue the professional service, be that on the Martin Track piece or the newsletter piece.
So even if we approved it for the full amount of time, 2 weeks in, we could decide, you know what, this e-newsletter isn't working for us. We want to
Absolutely.
cancel this.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we would have to pay for services rendered, but
Right.
your services would not be required.
And if you want to direct the township manager to bring you statistics in 3 months to see what the email traffic has been, you're certainly within your rights to do that as well.
Okay. What other questions? Did you have a question, Commissioner Carter?
Yes and no. I guess my question was for Sandra. When you were discussing the separation of the two, you were saying that it doesn't have to be the separation of the two, or it definitely has to be the separation?
Yes, there is a separation. There's a $2,000 per month fee for the weekly newsletter. That's going to happen. We're going to launch if you decide, we'll launch the newsletter. They'll keep going with that until I say stop. So if you say stop, like Lauren said, at 2 weeks, at 2 months, at 2 years, that's fine. Then there's the proposal for the Martin track, and that's based on time and materials. So it's like if you choose to do the survey, that would fall in there. If you choose to do a letter to residents, if you choose to do a newsletter article, whatever it may be, that falls in that segment of the proposal.
Okay, so that being said, where do we feel like the approval should be? Should it be for 3 months? Should it be 6 months? Or should it be the full year, since any
So
time?
you
we
don't
can vote?
actually have to leave, like Solicitor
Lauren-
Gallagher
Lauren
said, you can just
said,
make the
actually, it's an
motion, and then
open-ended. Is
if
that
at some
correct?
point
We'll
you
leave
guys
it
want to,
open-ended.
yeah, if at some point the board would like to stop it, all you have to do, 3 of you at a meeting need to tell me, and we'll end the service.
So we can
like that
literally
idea.
approve the proposal without designating a dollar amount.
Nope, you want to
designating
designate a
not to
dollar amount,
exceed.
not a time amount.
We're not
We are
designating
designating
a
it.
time limit, is
Okay.
what you're saying.
Yeah.
So not to exceed
$10,000 for the Martin track, and you'll say to engage for a
$2,000
monthly
per month.
or weekly newsletter at $2,000 per month,
2,000.
just as it's written on the memo. You
Got
can go
it.
with that.
All right, moving forward, I think we're ready. Yes, Fred?
Fred, I've been working with some of the communities like Brittany Point and some other communities like that, and different members of different neighborhoods where they asked me that same question. Yeah, we'll go door to door if we have to.
Mr. Henkin, just if you can at least speak to the microphone so that it can get picked up on the.
We had this conversation a few months ago. Remember, I think, Ruth, you were over here and we were talking. We were having this conversation. I'm personally glad to hear that you're doing this because I think it really helps from the point of transparency, because we talk transparency, but now, there's an opportunity to become more transparent. I'm just more concerned about, we talk about emails, not everyone has them. I know that.
Fred, it's not necessarily going to be an email survey. It's not scoped yet. There's
And again,
options
I'm
like
going-
telephone surveys. There's all sorts, and we have to meet with the consultant and go through that, but we'll definitely be reporting on that as we move
I
forward.
like the door-to-door thing because you're going to hit everybody. But
Okay.
That probably might be cost prohibitive unless the board does it, but
Well,
yeah.
I'll take one half the township. You can take the other.
Okay.
We'll
Okay,
go
all
together,
right.
Fred. Come on.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Fred. Dan, did you want to make a comment? Can you come to the microphone, please?
Can I take this off? Or raise
Sure.
it? I'll raise it. Dan Wallace, 848 Gerard Avenue. When I first saw this on the agenda, I had a couple of questions on, number one was why, and then the scope of work and the length of the contract. And I'm glad I heard the discussion amongst the commissioners today. I didn't know about the RFP and the professional services, so that was enlightening, and I'm glad you did that. But you mentioned in the beginning, this was previously budgeted from the earlier, was that the total amount, 30,000 that was on a previous budget
No.
for a person or a
Well,
service or what?
yes, so I mentioned that we had a proposal from this company at our work session,
Okay,
which was much higher, and we said
Okay.
it was too high.
okay,
But I also referenced a position that we had budgeted for a special projects coordinator, a part-time individual, possibly an intern.
Right.
And we had budgeted $32,000 annually for that position.
okay,
Since we did that, we have realized that we don't have an immediate need for that right now in the year.
right.
So we thought that would be the perfect place to use the $30,000 if that was the amount we
Instead
ended
of
up
a
needing.
person, you outsource it to a company or something
And
like
President
that.
Hull, part of the role
Okay.
of that person was going to be township communications to take some of that off of
And
Megan's
as-
plate and my
And
plate.
as for the discussion about the length, I agree with Liz, 3 months is what it should be.
Okay, well, we're going to play it by ear and we're going to see. Thank you,
Appreciate it.
Dan. Thank you. Okay, so do we have a motion to approve the proposal from Gailey Murray Communications not to exceed $10,000 for the Martin Track related project and $2,000 per month for the weekly township e-newsletter?
So moved.
So move.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
A second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any board comments? Do we have any public comments? All in favor say aye.
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 All opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Moving on to GuardNet Essentials Backup. So the township recently entered into an agreement with Integra as our new IT provider. And what we've recently learned is that the in-house backup is owned and leased to the township by our prior provider. So we did some research and determined that it's more financially advantageous for the township to continue to lease that equipment through Integra, which is what this agenda item is approving. There's no impact to the budget because the 2022 budget already includes funding for this service. Do we have a motion to approve the GuardNet Essentials Backup and Disaster Recovery Services Agreement from Integra One for $570 per month?
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? We have a motion and a second. Do we have any board comments? Do we have any public comments? All in favor say aye.
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 All opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Next up, I will hand it over to Commissioner Carter.
Hello. Number 10, motion to approve the purchase of the 2022 Ford Expedition as a replacement police vehicle in accordance with the police department's capital purchases vehicle replacement plan.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? We have a motion and a second. Do we have any board comments? Do we have any public comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Next, I have a motion to approve the release of the fire escrow for 408 Carmichael Drive in the amount of $121,651.82.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any board comments? Do we have any public comments? All in favor say aye.
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 All opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
And number 12, we have a motion to approve the fire department's volunteer tax credits.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? We have a motion and a second. Do we have any board comments? Do we have any public comments? All in favor say aye.
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 All opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Catherine. I will now hand it over to Commissioner Damsker.
Thank you. Item 13 is, we are actually postponing this. We will not be voting on this evening. There's still issues that we have to address before we vote on it. So I would just, we're just postponing that particular item. Number 14 is a motion to approve Resolution 03-2022, preliminary final land development plans for WB Homes Wheatley Walk, subject to the conditions set forth in the resolution. And did you want to mention anything, Lauren, about that?
Certainly, Commissioner Dansker. As the board will recall, this is an application for preliminary land development approval. The site is located at 779 to 783 North Sumneytown Pike and is zoned R2 residential. The applicant is proposing 17 single-family attached townhouses. The applicant has appeared before the Upper Gwynedd Township Planning Commission on July 14th, 2021. At that meeting, the applicant requested to submit revised plans seeking preliminary and final approval, in addition to addressing the Planning Commission comments. The applicant appeared again before the Planning Commission on September 8th, 2021. At that time, the Planning Commission recommended approval, subject to several conditions. The Planning Commission also made a recommendation for approval, which included the six waiver requests. Those waiver requests are set forth in the action item this evening, and they include Section 168(6.c)(1)(c) to allow the submission of an aerial photograph to satisfy the requirement for existing and proposed improvements for a distance of 100 feet outside of the property boundary. Section 162(12)(b)(11) to not provide 6-foot or dual 4-foot inlets in conditions due to the limited drainage areas. Section 168(20)(d)(2)(a) and 168(20)(d)(2)(c) to not provide improvements of Sumneytown Pike in consideration of roadway improvements performed by the township, which anticipated the future development of this property. Section 168(20)(c)(4) to allow the grades within 50 feet of Sumneytown Pike intersection to exceed 3%. Section 168(13)(b) to allow preliminary and final plans to be submitted together and be reviewed concurrently. And Section 168(21)(m) to allow light levels less than the required 1.0 foot candles. These plans have been reviewed and various review letters have been produced. There are various documents included in the action item this evening, including the land development site plan, last revised December 17th, 2021, applicant's response letter dated 1/26/22, township engineer review and approval letter dated January 24th, 2022, the traffic engineer review letter dated January 28th, 22, the fire marshal review letter dated January 26th, 2022, the zoning officer review letter dated January 10th, 2022, sanitary sewer engineer review letter dated December 27th, 2021, environmental advisory council review letter dated October 7th, 2021, and the Montgomery County Planning Commission review letter dated July 13th, 2021. The applicant has agreed to take into consideration the Environmental Advisory Council's comments, and they will use native plants, and they have provided a list of trees to remove versus the trees that will remain. And they will be addressing all of the other concerns through to the satisfaction of the township engineer. We have reviewed all of the submitted documents and prepared a resolution that is in a form satisfactory for the board's consideration this evening, and that will be Resolution 3/2022. And the applicant, I believe, is here to answer any questions if there are any from the board or members of the public.
Are there any questions for WB Homes and Chris Canavan? No?
The question was, when would we start construction? We're anticipating starting construction hopefully late March, early April, pending the final approval of the Montgomery County Conservation District. We have sought and received demolition permits from Upper Gwynedd Township so that the two buildings on the site, we anticipate starting demolition on those the 28th of February with a little bit of tree work around one of those houses prior to that, which would be next week.
Great. Excellent. Anyone else have any questions? Jim? Can you come to the mic, Jim, because virtually we won't be able to hear
I
you.
have a few, just for clarification. Number
Okay.
one, I chatted with Megan earlier on the easement at the one particular property where there's a 20-foot easement. And my question was, and I'm looking for possibly on the record from a legal standpoint, the easement, whose responsibility is that easement?
Megan, did you want to explain this to Jim?
Yes, so the easement that's on the plans for not their property, but for your development, there is a 20-foot easement, and it's an emergency access water line easement is the way it's depicted on the plans. And it is typically the responsibility of the homeowners where that easement falls on that property for them to maintain that easement area there. So it would be the two property owners that the easement falls on their parcel.
Okay, so both homeowners would be responsible for the easement? And that's a it's a fire easement, correct? Is that an emergency easement?
And this is a
Emergency.
pre-existing easement?
Yes, this
Yeah,
is
it
pre-existing the
this
prior development, and it falls onto two different parcels, so it is the two different property
Okay,
owners.
but the 20-foot easement, it's treed. So,
It's, excuse me?
It's wooded?
yes, it's wooded. That's the only question I was trying to get a clarification. If it's an emergency, how are you getting in unless you use the homeowner's driveway that's there? Is that what the idea would be?
The fire marshal has reviewed the plans and all the easements and has found them adequate, I believe. And the easement prevents the property owners from putting any kind of structures in the way of the access area. We can make sure that the fire marshal has taken a look at this. My understanding is that he has.
Well, the fire marshal took a look at the Wheatley Walk development. The easement we're discussing, I think, was part of the Canterbury development. So it has nothing to do, this plan does not affect that. But I'm sure at the time that Canterbury was reviewed, I'm sure I don't know, actually, I can't be sure. But, we generally, I think, if there's a need to clear an easement, we would require it to be cleared, but I haven't heard this come up as something that needed to be cleared.
Right, like it
But
wouldn't
like-
That
be
would
a-
have to be reviewed, but it's the incumbent on the property owner to make sure that the easement is maintained in the way that the easement document says that it's supposed to be maintained.
Okay, thanks. Second one, as part of process, and through the letters, I wasn't able to discern that from the nursing home's driveway to the intersection of Allentown and Sumneytown, there was that sidewalk that was going to be part of it. Is that still part of this, or is?
That would be an off-site improvement that's not included on our plan at this point. There had been some discussion with the township, but at this time, it's not on our plan.
Okay.
Yes.
And then the third item, there's contradictory comments as to what your plans are for the fencing and the buffer, et cetera, compared to what the environmental group had mentioned, that they were anti-fencing, et cetera. And is there a possibility that that goes away as construction continues, or?
The approved plan, if it's approved this evening, would show, just as we committed to, as you know, the zoning hearing board also required it, we have a fence that would be running along the whole rear property line of our site and running perpendicular
Right.
to the rear property line out to the edge of the curbing of the parking lot on both directions. And that is still in the plan. We've compromised on some of the other items. We've enhanced some of the other landscaping buffer to try to accommodate some of the comments of the EAC, but the fencing is still on the plan and will be installed.
And Jim, the EAC comments are suggestions. They're a whole wide variety of suggestions, and they have, information about the plans. They don't have as detailed about certain areas and certain aspects of it. So WB Homes and Chris Canavan have definitely taken a lot of their suggestions seriously, but that's one of them that they are not.
Okay, I was just verifying the fact that their plan is the
Still going to
plan,
happen.
that
Yes, their
it
plan
doesn't-
is the plan. Yes.
It doesn't change, or?
Yes.
Okay, super.
Yes.
Thank you.
Sure. Thank you, Jim. Anyone else have any other questions? No? Okay. Moving on. So before we go to the motion, I just wanted to make a comment, so not to interrupt the flow later. I just wanted to publicly thank all the township staff, the township consultants, and Chris Canavan and WB Homes for all your diligent and patient efforts to ensure that this project was truly a community collaboration. Your efforts were much appreciated, and we thank you for going the extra mile for Upper Gwynedd Township. With that being said,
Thank you very much.
we do have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any?
You can't, you made the motion.
Oh, I made,
You
oh,
can't
did I
second.
make the motion?
Yeah,
I'm
you made the
sorry.
motion.
Let's try that
I
again.
take it
Let's just
back.
try it. Let's just try it again. So we do have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any board comments? Do we have any public comments? All in favor say aye.
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 All opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lauren. Thank you, Ruth. Next up, I will hand it over to Commissioner McNaney.
Thank you. Megan, can you put up the, click on number 15 so we can see? This is a motion tonight to approve just the advertisement of, isn't the whole, yeah, that's what I was looking at. The advertisement for the 2022 roads program. And the roads that we're approving tonight for the advertisement is listed up there on the screen, so you can see if your street or how you travel to work will be getting paved. So with that, I'd like to make a motion to approve the advertisement for the 2022 roads program.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any board comments? Do we have any public comments? All in favor say aye.
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 All opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Liz. Next up is Commissioner Simulero.
We have a motion to revise proposal from Wheatley contract installation of flood doors at the wastewater treatment plant.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any board comments? Do we have any public comments? Deanna, will you do the roll call?
President Hall,
Aye.
Vice President Carter,
Aye.
Commissioner McNaney,
Aye.
Commissioner Simularo,
Aye.
Commissioner Damsker.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Next up, thank you, Commissioner Simularo. Next up is other business. Do we have a motion to approve the February 2022 open invoices?
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? We have a motion and a second. Do we have any board comments? Do we have any public comments? Deanna, will you do the roll call?
President McNaney,
Aye.
Vice President Hall.
Aye.
Oh,
It's
I'm
wrong.
sorry.
Yeah.
Let me start that again.
Sure.
President Hall,
Aye.
Vice President Carter,
Aye.
Commissioner McNaney,
Aye.
Commissioner Simularo, Commissioner Damsker.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Next up, we have the motion. Do we have the motion to approve the February 2022 paid invoices? We have a motion. Do we have a second?
A second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any board comments? Do we have any public comments? Deanna, will you do the roll call?
President Hall,
Aye.
Vice President Carter,
Aye.
Commissioner McNaney,
Aye.
Commissioner Simularo, Commissioner Damsker.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Fred, you had another comment? Can you come to the microphone, please?
Thank you so much. I mentioned before that I didn't know about this PR thing, but there was 3 updates to the work session meeting from last week. And I think I just heard you say there weren't any, but there were 4 total. So I didn't see it because I guess I didn't see the update. So
No, Fred, we did
Oh,
not. That,
shoot.
that was on the agenda every single time. What we updated, I could get the list of what we updated, but the,
is it possible to put the updates, because all you see is the final ones, like you don't see the things that you're updating, so it's kind
Right.
of hard. You have to keep going through it every time to see what the difference is.
yes, it's not possible on our website to
Okay,
do
I'm
that.
Just
But I
curious.
can assure you, the Gailey Murray
And
proposal
I'm
was
not,
up.
I'm not.
The one thing I think the reason you didn't see it is it was not blue. It didn't have backup documents.
That could have been
So
the
that
reason. That was probably the
Okay.
reason.
Just,
I'm-
I looked
don't
at it
wanna
on my
have a
computer.
misunderstanding,
Yeah,
that's all.
no, it's fine, but I think that when I looked at it, I noticed that, and I think because it
I'm
was
surprised I
pre-delivered.
didn't see it. I mean,
Yeah.
because
That's
I
probably the reason.
It
Thank
was
you,
there
Fred.
every
I
time.
try to make these work sessions, and I would have.
Okay.
commented
Thank
on
you,
it.
Fred.
Thank you
You
so
can
much.
watch it, Fred. You can rewatch it because we had to talk about it. It's beautiful now that you can rewatch it, listen to it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like I said, I just didn't see it. I didn't,
Yeah.
yeah. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. Do any commissioners have anything else to add?
No, because I want you to end the meeting because the Sixers are losing to the Celtics. Beard's
Yep.
not playing, but they're losing
Well, there you go.
24-16.
And
So
that's the reason.
let's
And
go.
thank you so much for joining us this evening. Meeting is adjourned.